We are counting down the 20 everyday treasures from Black grandmothers' homes in the 1970s that could now be worth thousands. From humble kitchen tools and vibrant textiles to rare memorabilia and heirloom jewelry, each item on this list proves that ordinary mementos can hold extraordinary value, especially when tied to family stories and Black history. Some will surprise you with their hidden worth, and a few could change your fortune overnight. So which overlooked object kicks off our countdown? Let's begin with number 20. Number 20 on the list is the classic cardboard church fan, the kind with a wooden handle and a bright, hopeful scene from the local Mount Zion Baptist Church printed right on the front. These fans sat in every pew, passed from hand to hand during long summer services before air conditioning was common. Most people never thought twice about them. Just a way to keep cool, maybe with a scripture or a picture of a beloved pastor. But collectors today see more than nostalgia. A well-preserved church fan from the 1970s, especially one with the handle still firmly attached, can fetch up to $100 at auction. Condition matters. Creases or faded colors drop the price, but a crisp print and an intact handle can double the value compared to a worn example. If the pastor's signature or a handwritten note from a special anniversary service is still visible, that can push the price even higher. Fans sponsored by Black-owned funeral homes or insurance companies, common in the South, bring a premium for their ties to community history. For families sorting through boxes of old papers, it is easy to overlook these little pieces of ephemera. But a single fan with a story, a church name, a date, a loved one's handwriting can turn a forgotten drawer into a small but meaningful payday. And for those who would rather honor the memory than sell, Black museums and archives often welcome these fans as vital records of local faith and resilience. On the next rung up from paper ephemera sits something that once worked hard in almost every Black grandmother's kitchen: the Presto aluminum pressure cooker. These sturdy stovetop pots with their twist-lock lids and black handles help turn tough greens or beans into Sunday dinner in half the time. But before anyone lists one for sale, a quick check can make all the difference. The first thing to look for is the rubber sealing ring inside the lid. If it is soft and flexible, not cracked or flattened, that alone can raise the value by nearly 50%. The little jiggler weight perched on the vent pipe should be present too. Missing it means the price drops below $40, even for a clean unit. A complete Presto with the safety plug intact and no deep dents along the rim can sell for $75 or more, especially if the original instruction booklet is tucked inside. It is a simple test. Fit the lid on, check the gasket, and make sure the vent is clear. If the cooker passes, it is a quick flip for collectors or home cooks who want that vintage feel. But if the gasket is shot or the safety plug is missing, list it for parts or display only. Always remind buyers that any old rubber or plug needs replacing before real use. That way, a forgotten pot in the attic turns from clutter into cash. No electricity required. Sitting on the kitchen counter, the heavy brown glazed ceramic pitcher was more than just a vessel for sweet tea or lemonade. Flip it over and you might spot a small stamp pressed into the clay, HLC or USA, showing it was made by the Homer Laughlin Company, the same company behind the famous Fiesta line. That little mark is the difference between a thrift store find and a hidden payday. Collectors scan the underside for those stamps, snapping photos to compare with listings on replacements or Etsy. A single picture in good shape can sell for $250 to $400. Chips along the rim or handle will slash that price in half, but a bit of crazing in the glaze, the fine web of lines that comes with age, does not scare off buyers. In fact, it is almost expected. The real value comes from glaze integrity, deep, even color, without big flakes or repairs. These pictures often sat on display, sometimes filled with plastic flowers, sometimes waiting for Sunday dinner. While a full Fiesta set can bring in even bigger numbers, a lone pitcher with the right stamp is already a step up the ceramics ladder. Before you pass by that old jug, grab your phone and snap a clear shot of the bottom. Sometimes the Goldmine is hiding in plain sight right under your nose. Tucked away in the back of a closet or folded neatly in a cedar chest, a bolt of Dashiki fabric, sometimes called ankara, waits for a second life. These bright, uncut yards of cloth, stamped along the selvage with the maker's name, once symbolized pride and self-expression during the Black is Beautiful movement. In the 1970s, a grandmother might have picked up 4 or 8 yards at a local shop, planning to make a Sunday dress or a set of matching shirts for the family reunion. Sometimes those plans never left the paper. The fabric stayed untouched, colors still singing, selvage edge crisp, the maker's mark a badge of authenticity. Today, collectors and museums are searching for exactly this, untouched yardage, especially with the full maker's name visible. A single 4-yard bolt can bring $300 to $500 on Etsy, sometimes double that if the pattern is rare or the provenance is clear. Tailors and textile historians pay a premium for bolts that have not been cut, faded, or stained. The real secret is the selvage stamp. Names like Flisco or GTP can be the difference between a $50 remnant and a $500 payday. Some buyers seek out these fabrics for ethical reuse, turning them into new art or clothing while honoring the original story. Others preserve them as historical artifacts, documenting a wave of Black creativity and pride. If you find a roll with the selvage intact and the colors still bold, you are holding more than just fabric. You are holding a piece of history and possibly a ticket to a serious gold mine. A box Sunbeam Mixmaster mixer from the 1970s, tucked away with its original manuals and attachments, can quietly double the value of a loose, used mixer. The first step is simple. Check if the box and paperwork made it through the decades. A complete set, including the mixer, beaters, bowl, and instruction booklet, can bring in $350 to $450 on eBay, even if the cord shows some yellowing from age. Collectors and retro bakers look for that original packaging, which often means the motor has not been overworked and the attachments are all there. To test the motor safely, plug it into a grounded outlet and run it for just a few seconds on the lowest setting. If it hums smoothly and the beaters spin without grinding or smoke, you are in business. Manuals and recipe booklets are not just for nostalgia. They prove authenticity and can add up to twice the value of a mixer sold loose. Even the smallest details matter. A matching glass bowl or original warranty card can tip a sale into the top price bracket. For anyone sorting through a grandmother's kitchen, this is a quick win. No need for deep cleaning or repairs, just careful checking and a few photos of the box and paperwork. Before moving on to higher ticket kitchen treasures, remember that small appliances like the Sunbeam Mixmaster, when complete and working, can quietly turn a forgotten shelf into a payday. A single bangle glinting gold from the bottom of a jewelry box can be worth far more than its weight suggests if you know where to look. In the 1970s, Monet bangles were a mainstay of Black women's Sunday best, often stacked 3 or 4 deep on a wrist for that elegant, layered look. What sets the valuable ones apart is a tiny signature. Flip the bracelet over and search for the word Monet stamped cleanly inside. That little copyright Monet mark, sometimes paired with a patent number, means you are holding a piece designed by the company itself, not a generic knockoff. The difference is real money. Recent eBay sales show signed Monet gold-tone bangles from the 1970s fetching $500 to $650, especially when the stamp is crisp and the clasp still snaps tight. Condition matters here too. If the gold plating is even and the edges show no green or black tarnish, the value jumps by as much as 30%. Collectors want bracelets that look like they just left the jewelry counter, not ones dulled by perfume or lotion. Before moving on to higher-end costume pieces, it pays to learn this quick test: signature inside, plating intact, clasp working. That is how a simple bangle can quietly outshine a whole box of tangled beads, and why your grandmother's taste in jewelry could turn out to be a hidden windfall. A single chrome arc floor lamp curving dramatically over a faded shag rug once set the mood in countless Black family living rooms during the 1970s. These lamps, sometimes called mushroom or space-age arcs, are now magnets for mid-century collectors, and their prices can surprise even the savviest heir. The key is in the details. Original acrylic shades, still glowing with that soft retro light, and the old-school rotary switch, often hiding near the base or up the stem, matter. If the wiring is still original, do not plug it in yet. Vintage cords can be brittle or unsafe after decades in an attic. A quick trip to a licensed electrician for a full rewire can mean the difference between a $200 fixer and a $900 showpiece. Look closely for a maker's mark. Names like Coke and Loewe or Reggiani etched on the metal can push the value even higher, sometimes by hundreds. Lamps with intact shades and working switches routinely sell for $700 to $900 on eBay, but missing or mismatched parts can slash that by nearly half. Collectors pay a premium for untouched originals, but safety always comes first. Modern wiring is a must. If you spot one of these funky arcs hiding behind old furniture, check for the label, test the switch, and have a pro handle the wiring. That forgotten lamp could be the brightest find in the house, a statement piece that turns nostalgia into serious cash. A Corningware casserole dish, especially one with a floral pattern in its original glass lid, can turn a kitchen shelf into a cash register. These dishes were not just for Sunday mac and cheese, they were a badge of pride, often brought out for church potlucks or family reunions. The real kicker for collectors is complete condition. That matching glass lid is not just for looks, it can double the value compared to a dish sold without it. On recent Worth Point sales, rare 1970s floral patterns with the lid intact have reached $800, sometimes pushing $900 if the colors are crisp and the set is free of chips. Even a tiny chip along the rim can cut the value in half, so careful inspection matters. The secret to identifying a jackpot is simple. Flip the dish over and look for the Corningware stamp on the underside and take a clear photo for reference, since pattern names and codes are what drive prices up. Some runs, like the blue cornflower or wildflower, are especially hot. Collectors use those bottom marks to match listings and spot rare variants. Before moving on to Pyrex, remember, a complete Corningware floral set with the lid and no chips is a step away from a $1,000 payday and a lesson in why details matter when hunting for hidden kitchen gold. A full set of turquoise Fiesta dinnerware with every plate, bowl, and serving piece stacked just right can be a jackpot hiding in plain sight. The secret starts underneath. Flip over a plate and look for the HLC or USA back stamp pressed into the glaze. That tiny mark ties the set to the Homer Laughlin Company, the name collectors trust most. Turquoise was one of the original Fiesta colors, but the run was discontinued for years before coming back, so 1970s sets are especially sought after. It is not just the color that matters, set completeness is everything. Dinner plates, salad plates, cups, saucers, and those big serving bowls all count toward the total. The more pieces, the higher the price climbs. Replacements and eBay comps show that a full turquoise set, even with a little crazing in the glaze, can bring in $1,200 or more. If you have the matching serving platters or covered casserole dishes, add another 25% to that number. Collectors will pay top dollar as long as the glaze is even and the color has not faded, but chips or repairs knock the value down fast. Before packing anything up, snap clear photos of the back stamps and every piece in the set. Discontinued colors like turquoise send buyers on a hunt, and a complete set with the right marks can turn a forgotten cabinet into a four-figure payday. For families sorting through old china cabinets, it is proof that those stacks of bright ceramic are not just memories, they are a real treasure waiting to be claimed. A gold-toned eagle brooch glinting with rhinestones and a bold sense of 1970s style might look like just another Sunday accessory at first glance. But flip it over and search for a tiny mark, the Trifari Crown T signature pressed into the metal. That one detail sets this piece apart from the usual costume jewelry, turning a simple brooch into a collector's prize. Trifari was a staple in Black women's jewelry boxes during the disco era, prized for its mix of glamour and affordability. Today signed Trifari Eagle brooches from the 1970s routinely cross the $1,500 mark on eBay, with some listings closing at $1,600. When the stones are all intact and the clasp snaps tight, even a single rhinestone missing can drop the value by nearly 40%. Collectors want that original sparkle. There is another secret that can push the price even higher: provenance. If the original store receipt is still tucked in the box, or if a handwritten note proves the brooch's history, that adds up to 20% more in the final sale. The story behind the brooch matters almost as much as the shine itself. Before moving on to vintage clothing and textiles, remember that a signed Trifari Eagle, especially with every stone in place and a paper trail to prove it, can quietly outshine much of what's left in the jewelry box. For anyone sorting through a grandmother's keepsakes, this is the moment to grab a magnifying glass, check for that crown T, and see if a small pin could be hiding a four-figure fortune. A complete set of pink gooseberry Pyrex nesting bowls is the kind of kitchen treasure that turns casual sorting into a heart-pounding moment. 4 bowls, each a different size, stacked perfectly inside one another. And if you find all of them together with no chips or cracks, you are already in rare company. The pattern itself, those playful pink berries and leaves, was a favorite in Black kitchens during the 1970s, often brought out for family reunions or Sunday dinners. But what really makes collectors reach for their wallets is set completeness. Missing even one bowl can cut the value in half, and a single chip along the rim is just as costly. Recent eBay sales show full 4-piece gooseberry sets in excellent condition, closing at $1,700 to $1,900, nearly $2,000 for what some folks still call mixing bowls. The secret is on the underside: a clean Pyrex stamp, no dishwasher haze, and no repairs. Grading is strict in this world. A perfect set scores a 10, but even a small flaw drops it to a 5 and slashes the price. Before listing, line up all 4 bowls, check for chips with your fingertip, and snap a photo of the bottom mark. That is what separates a kitchen memory from a mortgage payment. For anyone sorting through a grandmother's cabinets, it is proof that sometimes the prettiest things in the house are also the most valuable. A vintage fur trim wool coat from the 1970s, especially one with its original label and lining still intact, can quietly outpace even some jewelry in today's resale market and could be a gold mine. These coats, often found in the back of a cedar closet or draped over an old hanger, were a staple of winter style, with broad lapels, dramatic collars, and a satisfying weight that signaled quality. The first step is a quick triage. Check the inside lining for rips or stains. Even a small tear can cut the value by 30%, while a pristine lining means you are in the top bracket. Look for the maker's label stitched near the collar or side seam. That not only confirms authenticity, it can push prices higher if the name matches a known 1970s designer. Next, run a gentle hand along the wool and fur trim. If the fur feels brittle or you spot tiny holes, that is a red flag for textile moths, which can devastate value. A simple test is to hold the coat up to the light and look for pinprick holes in the wool. If it passes, a professional cleaning is a smart move, both to freshen up the fibers and to reassure buyers. Ethical resellers now note that vintage fur is considered more sustainable than new, but it is important to disclose the type of fur in any listing. Recent sales on consignment sites show these coats, when well cared for, closing at $1,800 to $2,200, with rare styles nudging even higher. For anyone sorting through a grandmother's winter wardrobe, that heavy coat is not just a memory of chilly church mornings, it might be the key to unlocking a serious payday, provided it is moth-free and ready for its next outing. A vintage leather maxi coat from the 1970s, especially one with a designer label, stands out as a heavyweight in the world of retro fashion collectibles. These coats, often found in rich browns or deep blacks, swept all the way to the ankles and brought drama to every winter sidewalk. The real money, though, is in the details most people overlook. Flip the collar or check the inside seam. An original 1970s hang tag or a lining stamp from a known designer can push the value over $2,000, with recent Etsy sales closing between $2,100 and $2,300. Authenticity is everything. The label should match the era, not a modern reproduction, and the stitching needs to be tight, not frayed or coming loose. Run your hand along the lining. If it is moth-free and the original belt is still hanging in the closet, that alone can lift the price by 25%. Buyers want a coat that feels like it just stepped off a Soul Train line, not one that has been chewed up by time. Before listing, snap close-ups of the label, the lining, and any stamp you find. These are your proof points when collectors come calling. For anyone sorting through a grandmother's winter wardrobe, that heavy leather maxi is not just a relic of 1970s style. It is a potential gold mine, provided the label and seams hold up to scrutiny. A working turntable from the 1970s isn't just a relic. It's a soul machine that can quietly spin up a serious payday. The first thing to check is the belt. Place a record on the platter and give it a gentle spin by hand. If the belt is still tight and the platter glides smoothly, you're off to a strong start. Next, look at the needle. If it is clean, not bent, and the cartridge does not wobble, that is a sign the sound will be crisp, not scratchy. But here is where the magic happens. Flip the turntable over or check the back for a serial number and model name. Snap a photo and run a quick search on Discogs. Some 1970s belt drive models, especially those with the original head shell and dust cover, have sold for $2,800 to $3,000 in mint condition. That dust cover is more than a plastic shield. It can raise the value by 20% on its own. Collectors want every original piece, right down to the rubber feet and the branded head shell. If the turntable still has its dust cover and the head shell matches the brand stamped on the body, you are in the top price bracket. Even if the box is long gone, a clean, working unit with all its parts is gold for anyone who loves soul, funk, or R&B. Before rushing to sell, jot down that serial number and check recent sales online. Sometimes the attic's old music tech isn't just a memory, it's a nearly $3,000 surprise waiting to be discovered. A single lobby card from the original 1971 release of Shaft might look like just another piece of movie paper at first glance. But collectors see something else entirely: the absence of those familiar fold creases, so common in movie memorabilia, can mean the difference between a background prop and a centerpiece worth real money. Even better if the card still carries the faint purple stamp from a Detroit theater, proof it once hung in a place where the film's impact was felt most. Heritage Auctions logged a sale at $2,500 for a pristine example, but the story behind the card can push the value even higher. That provenance, the family story, and the original theater mark can add nearly 40% to the final sale price. On the flip side, missing corners or heavy edge wear can drop the value by as much as 30%, no matter how iconic the image. For anyone sorting through boxes of old film posters and handbills, knowing how to grade paper, checking for folds, stamps, and corners can turn a forgotten lobby card into a serious payday. And as online auction platforms now make it easier to connect with buyers who value Black cinema history, these cards have become more than just ephemera. They are golden tickets to the legacy of Black film, and for some families, a tangible link between memory and money. An original Superfly one-sheet poster, unfolded and bursting with color, is one of the rarest treasures in Black film memorabilia from the 1970s. Unlike lobby cards or smaller handbills, the one-sheet was the crown jewel of movie marketing, plastered in theater windows and meant to grab attention from the street. Most were folded down the middle for shipping, leaving permanent creases that dropped their value by hundreds. But a fold-free Superfly poster with its vivid orange and purple hues, still electric after 50 years, can command $3,000 or more at auction. Heritage Auctions has logged sales in this range, with collectors battling for the brightest, cleanest examples. Even a tiny piece of tape or a thumbtack hole can cut the price by 1/3, so condition is everything. Many top-tier posters have been linen-backed, a conservation technique where the paper is mounted to fabric, smoothing out wrinkles and adding stability. This not only protects the poster, but can boost its value, turning a fragile relic into a gallery-worthy piece. For anyone unrolling grandma's old movie stash, resist the urge to flatten or tape down the corners. Professional linen backing is worth the investment, especially before listing on eBay or approaching a specialist dealer. And while lobby cards from the same film do carry some value, it is the full-size, fold-free one sheet that sits at the top of the heap, making it the last stop in the world of paper collectibles before the story shifts to the heavyweights of vintage furniture. A Drexel walnut sideboard from the early 1970s stands as one of the most substantial treasures a family might uncover, both in size and in value. Produced between 1969 and 1973, these mid-century case goods were a fixture in Black living rooms and dining spaces, often holding cherished china, records, or Sunday dinner platters. What separates a true Drexel from a look-alike is the maker's stamp, usually branded or inked on the inside of a drawer or along the back panel. Pull open a drawer and you will often find dovetail joints, interlocking wood teeth that signal quality craftsmanship and authenticity. Collectors and appraisers zero in on these details, along with the original finish and hardware. If the brass pulls and hinges are untouched, that alone can add up to 30% more to the value. On the flip side, water rings or heavy scratches on the top can knock 20% off, so surface condition matters. Recent eBay sales show Drexel sideboards in original condition closing at $3,200, with pristine examples fetching even more. Before listing, check that the hardware is period correct. Swapping out handles for modern replacements will almost always drop the price. For families tempted by quick local sales or lowball auction offers, patience pays. These pieces are in high demand among mid-century collectors. A single Drexel sideboard, authenticated and well cared for, can do more for the family's bottom line than a whole box of small collectibles. And as the story moves toward the music era, Remember, this is the last big furniture find before the real Goldmine shifts to what is spinning on top. A first press Aretha Franklin 45 single, especially a white label promo stamped with the original Matrix number, can turn a dusty record box into a windfall. Collectors hunt for these rare soul singles, but the real jackpot is in the details. Flip the vinyl and look near the runout groove for handwritten matrix codes or promo notations. These marks, pressed at the factory, separate a true first pressing from a later reissue. The promo label, usually white with bold black text, means this copy was sent to radio stations before the song ever hit the charts. That alone can push the value to $4,200, as seen in recent Discogs sales for Aretha's early 1970s singles in VG Plus condition or better. But there is another layer, the sleeve. If the original sleeve is crisp, with no ring wear or tears, and the vinyl itself is clean, with no deep scratches or warps, the price climbs even higher. Now imagine finding a handwritten playlist slipped inside, maybe in your grandmother's looping script, listing her favorite tracks for a Saturday night family party. That personal touch can bump the value by another 20%, turning a $4,000 record into a $5,000 payday. Some granddaughters have shared stories of building playlists from these finds, adding Aretha to their own digital rotations, proof that soul never really leaves the family. Before we move on to the world of handmade quilts and cultural textiles, remember that music memorabilia peaks with the right combination of rarity, condition, and a little bit of family history. The next time you find a box of old 45 records, check the labels, scan the runout, and look for those handwritten notes. You might be holding more than just a song. You could be holding a piece of Black musical legacy worth thousands. A handmade quilt from a church quilting circle in the 1970s carries a weight that goes far beyond its stitches. When every block tells a story, names embroidered in the corner, photos of the makers holding the finished piece, even a church bulletin tucked alongside, it is not just a blanket. It is living proof of Black women's artistry and community, preserved in fabric and thread. Auction houses like Sotheby's have seen these quilts, especially those with clear provenance, sell for as much as $4,500, with photo documentation alone tripling the price compared to a quilt with no history attached. Provenance matters. Textile experts look for unique stitch patterns often passed down or invented within a single congregation, patterns that can be matched to archival photos or church records. That is the secret. A quilt with a documented story can leap from $1,000 to $4,000 or more. One cousin in DC remembered her grandmother's circle gathering every Thursday night, snapping Polaroids as they worked. Those faded photos were the key that convinced a museum to display their quilt, treating it as both artwork and archive. Museum interest can change everything. For families sorting through trunks or linen closets, it is worth gathering every scrap of evidence, photos, church bulletins, even handwritten tags, before thinking about a sale. Museums and Black textile historians now seek these quilts for their collections, honoring the hands and hearts that made them. In the world of vintage Black textiles, provenance is not just a bonus. It is the difference between a pretty coverlet and a priceless piece of cultural heritage. Tucked in an old box or stacked on a coffee table, a single Jet magazine from 1972 can be the difference between a sentimental keepsake and a life-changing windfall. Some issues, especially those with historic covers like Angela Davis's iconic afro or a headline marking a major cultural moment, have become the holy grail for collectors. It is not just about the cover. The real value comes when the spine is unbroken, every page is intact, and the original mailing label is still glued on the back. That label, with your grandmother's name and address, turns a magazine into a piece of family provenance, proving its journey from Johnson Publishing's Chicago presses straight to her door. In one Philadelphia family, the process of scanning a rare 1972 jet for digital safekeeping led to an unexpected discovery. Tucked inside were family photos and handwritten notes, unlocking both memories and value. When they listed the issue online, bids soared. Heritage Auctions logged a sale at $8,500 for a single pristine event cover jet, the highest price in the data set. For fragile copies, experts recommend scanning each page before handling too much, preserving both the story and the sale potential. In a world where old magazines are often tossed or recycled, the right jet issue kept safe by a Black grandmother can quietly outshine every other attic find. This is the ultimate proof that what once chronicled Black life for a week could, 50 years later, change a family's fortunes forever. Across all 20 entries, one truth stands out. What was once dismissed as everyday clutter in Black grandmothers' homes is now prized for its cultural history, its rarity, and its family provenance. These objects aren't just antiques, they are proof that generational memory holds real economic power. In today's market, heritage isn't just sentimental, it is valuable. The past is paying dividends, and those hidden treasures are rewriting how we value Black family legacies. What might you uncover next?